Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have a small claims hearing with a couple who are suing the company that installed the flooring in the house that they built several years ago. The parents are extremely upset about the fact that the flooring has been destroyed by their son's wheelchair, and they're adamant that they told the company what their son's needs were, so they feel it should be covered under warranty. The contractor claims that they had no idea that the special needs child was also in a wheelchair, because if they had, they would have been happy to recommend a different, albeit more expensive flooring. Dad doesn't handle their denials very well and lashes out at everyone in the courtroom. Let's watch.
All right, let's have a couple folks from B&R come on up. And while you're standing, I'll have you raise your right hands, and the Duplessis, if you'll raise your right hands, please. Swear the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
We do.
Okay, I see him. Get everybody in breakout. Good. All right, folks, I've reviewed what has been filed in this case, and frankly, it looks to me like it comes down to the issues raised in the letter sent on the 18th of June to the Duplessis by B&R Flooring, that a change in conditions of the substrate has negated the warranty on the floor. Is that essentially your position, B&R?
It was denied based on environmental and user rather than manufacturer or installation. Was why the warranty was denied.
Right, that the substrate conditions no longer meet the necessary flatness requirements for the floating floor.
As well as the rolling load, correct.
Okay, and that was the wheelchair.
Correct.
And in the, how is that made clear to the customer what the restrictions are on a floating floor as regards to, and I think in this case, the assertion by B&R is that it's a wheelchair for a significantly oversized person has caused damage to the floor. Is that basically B&R's position?
Correct. The rolling load is making the floor fail.
Okay.
I can expand if you'd like.
Well, yeah, let's just assume for now that that's accurate. My question is, when somebody has a floor put in, are they notified of weight limits, stress limits? Are they told something so that they can consider whether this is the appropriate purchase?
Generally, during the process, our salespeople would do their best to learn how the floor is going to be used, what the conditions of the home. Simple questions usually like, do you have pets? Do you have kids who use the floor? Those kinds of things. This being new construction also, and our salesperson with instruction from the builder on the type of floor that's, say, budgeted for or recommended or whatever conversations they may or may not have had. The salespeople would talk about that. Then as far as about how to use the floor and maintain the floor.
Okay, so actually, let me stop you there. So the Duplessis bought this as a new home?
Yes.
And the installation of the floor decision was made by the builder, not by the Duplessis?
The selection of these color, the exact product was made by the Duplessis. Their contract, of course, is with the builder, as is mine, ours.
Okay, so the choice of a floating floor, which appears to be the issue here. Am I correct about that?
That's primarily the issue at the end of the day, yes.
Okay, so did the Duplessis choose to have a floating floor, or did the builder do it and they just picked a color?
There's many kinds of floors. They chose a product based on, say, Deanna has a good, or the salesperson has a good relationship, say, with the builder, likes the product. They like the color. I think there was a little hiccup with the discontinued product in the process, but that's neither here nor there. They ultimately chose a floor. Floating floor is generally a fantastic product, very durable for pets and kids and things like that. as Laura mentioned in her statement, and Deanna mentioned in her statement, she was never made aware that, a significant rolling load would be used. Otherwise, she would have offered a different kind of floor that would be more appropriate for that kind of use.
Okay. You were the saleswoman?
No, Deanna is our
Deanna.
sales.
Okay. Okay. And the conversations, what role did the builder have in these discussions about the type of floor to put in?
I am unaware. Deanna's here. We could ask her to answer that question if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you have her come on up and she can have a seat over here.
We also have the builder here and the
Okay.
installer.
All right. And if you'd raise your right hand for me, please.
Sure.
Swear the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat. Okay. Floor choice. You were conversing with whom?
The builder. The builder said, "Hey, I'm sending clients in."
And your name is Deanna?
Correct.
Okay.
I budgeted for luxury vinyl plank, and I know what that means to him. And we have done homes with children in wheelchairs before, and we've talked about it, and we've done a completely different floor. We've done a glue down version of a luxury vinyl, but in this case, he wanted luxury vinyl, not a glue down. Because he wasn't aware that there was going to be a rolling load either.
And I'll go back, sir, I'll go back to you. If there's a glue down floor, does that increase the likelihood that the damage to the floor that had occurred in this case would not have occurred if it had been glue down?
It does increase that likelihood, yes.
All right. So you were discussing this with the builder, not with the Duplessis.
Correct. When they came in,
The builder came to you about the floor.
Yeah, they came to pick the color, and we went out and picked a floor. And unfortunately, I felt really bad, but that floor had been discontinued when it was time to get ready to order it. It was discontinued, so they had to come back and pick out another floor. And they picked another color, and that's what we installed.
Okay. So in essence, you were a sub on this job by installing the floor, subcontractor for flooring. Okay. Okay, and from the Duplessis standpoint, do I have this right? This is the issue that we're talking about?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there seems to be, this is coming down to the awareness, in this case, I believe, of the builder as to whether there was going to be the greater than normal or anticipated load on the floor based on the size of the person using a wheelchair. So did this come up at all? Did anybody caution you? Tell me about that.
So from the day one, Your Honor, I originally designed this home because of our child being in a wheelchair. So if anything was to ever happen to us, he would have a place that was comfortable for him to live in. This was discussed with the designer, Adam Lanier. This was also discussed point blank from the very first day we met the builder, Andy Groom. This conversation has been this way since day one.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Or day one from when we met Mr. Andy Groom, the builder, I came with a photo in hand of my son, who was at the time living in a facility, with him in a picture in his wheelchair, with a story of why we were doing this and building our home this way. And he listened to our story.
Okay.
He saw a picture of him in his wheelchair.
So,
All right. Yeah. Yeah. So hold on here. So this is raising a separate issue. I was curious about all of this, and now I think I'm beginning to see the picture a little bit. The lawsuit here is, well, let me just confirm before I make that jump. The lawsuit is Duplessis against B&R Flooring. And it appears that B&R Flooring just installed the floor as requested by the builder. So I don't see that B&R Flooring has any role to play as a defendant in this case. Do you have any reason to believe that B&R Flooring didn't do what they were supposed to do?
So, yes, sir. The first time Andy told us we were going to be talking to Deanna at B&R Flooring, we sat down with her, explained to her we needed certain criteria. One, it had to be waterproof. Two, it had to be able to sustain someone in a wheelchair. Three, something that would handle scratches. And four, we needed pets. Because at the time, we actually had a pet with us that we unfortunately had to put down 6 months after we moved into the house. These were our criteria from the day we first met Deanna. Point blank. This was never discussed to change from a floating floor to a glue down floor whatsoever.
That wasn't even brought to our attention.
Correct. Not one time did anyone at B&R Flooring said, yes, we need to change this flooring. These criteria have been met from day one. Like I said, Your Honor, when we started this process to build this home, was always the design for someone in a wheelchair. We sat down with her. Yes, she did this. The one flooring did discontinue. We went back in and picked out a whole separate flooring.
Yes.
Again, it was never discussed from Deanna's point on our end that this flooring.
Okay, yeah, we're having some, yeah, hold on. You're having connection issues here. Your voice is coming in and out, so I'm not sure if your location is problematic. So we're missing some of what's being said. Let me ask a question. Ms. Duplessis indicated that she showed, I believe it's Mr. Groom, the builder, the photo of your son. Did you show Deanna that same photo?
I do not believe so, sir.
Okay, so is there any way that B&R Flooring would know that there was going to be something, we have to be polite
Yeah,
here.
that was my highest priority when discussing flooring.
Right, but my question is this, did B&R Flooring have reason to believe that there was going to be greater than normally anticipated weight from a wheelchair on the floor? And how did they have that? How did B&R Flooring have that anticipation?
We told it to him personally, but part of the evidence that we just...
Okay, Mr. Duplessis, how about you let Ms. Duplessis speak, because her voice is coming through, yours isn't.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Duplessis,
Yes.
how did B&R Flooring know that your son was significantly larger than normal people using wheelchairs, and that there would be a significantly greater weight stress on the floor? How was B&R Flooring notified of that?
I was constantly telling them that was the main reason about our choice of our floor.
Okay, what were you telling them?
That it needed to be waterproof. It needed to take his weight and his size of his chair, the wheels of his chair, everything that he needed.
All right, so I want to be clear here. We're not talking about conversations with Mr. Groom. Conversations with B&R
Deanna. With
Okay.
Deanna.
And did you tell them the weight of your son?
I did not specifically say his weight, no, because he's my child and I don't talk about him in that way.
Right. No, I understand, but I'm just trying to figure out how much B&R Flooring knew. So
Well, I can tell you this. And part of the stuff that we gave you as proof, I had a conversation with the person that was going to be coming in and making the niche for our son, who they met when they came to measure him for his bathroom, ADA bathroom, which that person is there. He came in and had to take the measurements of everything to put the bench in for our son that is in the wheelchair.
right. And is that somebody who's a BNR employee or
Yes,
somebody
sir.
who is part of the building crew?
I don't remember his name, but he's sitting there in that courtroom. And part of the conversation was, I got the call from Deanna about meeting the floor guy to meet there with him to get the niche and bench right for our son's height measurements between, and it says the time.
And was your son present at any of
Yes,
the
sir.
conversations?
Which we also gave you the picture of him that day. There
Well,
waiting
I
for
see a
them.
picture. So he was present there. That the photo
Yes,
is
sir.
him being present at a meeting with whom?
The people,
With
the
whom?
installers.
Okay. All right. And I think we have the installers here. Is that right?
We do.
Okay. So first of all, before I call them up, Deanna, Ms. Duplessis said she actually discussed with you the concerns of a special floor, or the special concerns about the ability of her son, who
Actually, I constantly had anxiety talking with her about all the things that I needed for my son because I'm afraid of picking the right one or the wrong one.
right. Okay. So you want to fill me in on that?
Yeah, if we would have had that conversation, we would have put
We
a glue
did.
down.
Okay.
At
So,
the end, I've done many homes with people in wheelchairs, and we put glue down floors, period.
did you, at any time that you were meeting with Ms. Duplessis, did you ever see a photo of her son, or was her son ever present at
Never.
any of your meetings?
Never.
No, he was not.
Okay. And Deanna's just told me she never saw a photo of your son in a
No.
wheelchair. Okay. And you said you didn't feel comfortable disclosing the weight of your son. How did you make Deanna aware that there was going to be an abnormal stress on the floor from your son being present in the home in his wheelchair?
I don't find that I didn't disclose it to her. I didn't talk about it because I don't talk about my son in that way. I didn't say, oh yeah, my son weighs 300 pounds. This is why I need this kind of floor. I don't talk about him that way.
Can I interject, Your Honor?
Yeah, hold on. As I pointed out at the beginning, you're asking me to decide this legally. So the questions I'm asking go to the law. I need to figure out exactly what was said, what people knew, in order for me to figure out, one, who may be liable or where the decision was made. So,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Duplessis, to summarize, what you've just told me is your conversations with B&R Flooring, your son wasn't present, so they didn't have their own ability to see him and understand what the weight stress would be on the floor. You didn't tell them your son's weight. Is there anything that you told B&R that would indicate to them there may be more than the normal weight stress on a floor for the floor they were installing? Did you ever say anything to them along those lines?
What does my son's weight have to do with?
Okay, no, you're not asking me questions. You need to answer my question. I'll answer your question. The whole point of B&R is that there was an extraordinary weight stress on the floor given the size of your son. And we'll deal with that in a minute, but I need to know, was B&R Flooring aware of the size of your son at the time you selected their flooring?
I already answered that and I said no.
Okay, all right. But you did tell me that Mr. Groom, as the builder, was aware of the size of your son. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's because your son was present, or you said you showed him a photo of your son?
In the very beginning, I showed him a picture of my son.
Okay.
And he met, yeah.
And he met your son? Is that what you're saying?
They met my son.
They being whom?
The people that installed the flooring.
Okay.
It says in that
Let's have
text.
Okay. Dan, if you'll step back, and whoever installed the floor, come on. And raise your right hand, please. Swear the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Right,
My name is
see?
Eric Hedges, by the way.
Eric?
Eric, yes.
Okay. And Eric, you work for?
I own my own company. I do subcontract for B&R.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Duplessis, and so you're the one who installed the floor in the home?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And did you have any role in the selection of the flooring?
No.
And Ms. Duplessis indicates that you met her son?
No, I never met her son until the project was completed.
Did you ever see a photo of her son?
That is not true.
Okay, okay.
As you can see, the
Ms.
floors-
Duplessis, I give everybody a chance. I'll come back to you. Okay, and now remember, what I said ahead of time was that I'm very likely to hear different stories from folks on these cases. And remember, I wasn't there. So
I
I've told
understand.
everybody, okay, Ms. Duplessis, I'm just reminding you of what we talked about prior to mediation, which is in these cases, we hear very different versions. And I'm hearing a very different version. So sit tight. I'll give you a chance again.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Eric, go ahead.
I had not met him till the project was completed, till I came back to start doing repairs.
And that was how long after the installation?
Oh, a while. She's got a timeline.
Okay, but I mean, it wasn't a week later.
No, it was
years later.
Yes, it was down a year to a month, a year to months.
Okay, so at the time you installed the floor, did you have any reason to believe that the choice of the flooring that was being put in the home was inappropriate given what you suspected the ongoing demands of the floor would
No,
be?
I had no idea. It was perfectly fine floor for family.
Okay. All right. And did you understand there was going to be a wheelchair?
No, I had no idea.
You had no idea even about the wheelchair? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. And is Mr. Groom here? If you'll come on up. Raise your right hand for me, please.
Yes.
Swear the testimony in this case be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
And do I have your last name right? Groon?
It's Gruen, G-R-U-N.
Oh, Gruen, U-E-N?
H-N.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, Nancy. And Mr. Gruen, you're the builder in this case?
I am.
Okay. Were you involved in discussions with the Duplessis and with BNR about a selection of a floor?
Yeah, we had a budget for LVP flooring. Adam Lanier designed their plans. And anyways,
Who is the designer?
Adam Lanier, he was a plan designer.
And who does he work for? Is he his own shop?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he gave you a design on a floor.
Yeah, he just gave me the house plans.
Okay, the house plan.
Yeah, yeah.
And how did the floor selection come about?
I sent them to B&R to pick out a subfloor or a LVP flooring, engineered hardwood. B&R supplies all the floor covering, so tile backsplashes, carpet, engineered hardwood.
Right.
And so kind of during this last time frame, we put in lots of LVP flooring. I've worked with Deanna for almost 25 years. We put in a lot of floors. We've done a lot of work together over the years. And so as far as their son's concerned, I didn't actually meet their son until after they moved into their house. They moved in beginning of June. I came over sometime middle to end of June, and I was shocked. in my eyes.
And what do you mean by that?
He was in a wheelchair and they told, the first time we met, they told me they had a special needs child, and that was all they told me. You know, I feel like it's not my place to ask and pry and for information, right? Like they're going to tell me, you know, they have a special needs child. That can mean a lot of things. So, anyways, is when it came to flooring, those were the options. Luxury vinyl plank, it's floating floor. There was nothing on our radar. It was just, you know, go pick out coloring selections, you know, your tile backsplashes, things of that nature. And yeah, away we went.
Okay, so after the Duplessis moved in, you came out a couple weeks later.
Yes.
And you said you saw their son and you were shocked by his size because you had no anticipation that.
No, I had never seen him. I just knew he was a special needs child.
Right. But you said you were shocked. And
yes, I was shocked that he was in a wheelchair, and I just was like, oh, I kind of one of those like, oh, you know, just, I didn't, that was not on my radar.
Okay. If you were aware of that size, of the size of their son at the time that you were talking about the installation of the floor, would that have changed your view as to what the appropriate product would have been?
Yes, I would have called Deanna. I would have asked her. That was a red flag for sure of like, oh, that would have changed what would have been put down. Absolutely.
All right, Ms. Duplessis, go ahead. Anything you want to say?
What was that, sir? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I said go ahead. Is there any, you've heard Mr. Gruen, you've heard Eric, you've heard Deanna, all say that none of them at the time of the selection of the floor or the installation of the floor were they aware of the size of your son, which they all agree would have changed the product that would have been selected for installation. So what's your view on that?
Sir, I'm actually speechless.
Okay, so you think they're not being truthful with me?
That's an understatement.
Okay, and you believe that you were right up front with the demands that were going to be placed on the floor by the size of your son, and that they knew about it at the time they assisted you in selecting a product. Is that your position?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Gruen, thank you. And who from BNR has been out subsequent and once you got the complaint about the floor?
And
Only the
sir,
installer.
So Eric, if you'll come on back up. And I'll
Sir?
remind you, you're still growth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you went back out when the Duplessis called and said there were issues with the floor.
I've been out a couple times to fix different random repairs. Yes.
Okay, and so what did you, as the installer, see as the cause of the damage to the floors?
So the first time I went out there was to fix a couple. So the floor can gap in two different ways. It can gap in the head seam where the narrow edge of the board goes together, and then you can gap in a length seam with the long edge of the board goes together. The first time I went out there, it was head seam gaps, which you can knock back and glue back into place. One of the times I went back out there, Mr. Gruen had the framer meet me out there, and the bottom of the tongue and groove subfloor had broken in the hallway, and the floor had actually, the subfloor was moving, which caused the floor to crack, which required me to glue in 2 more boards down the center of the hallway. Then I came out an additional time to fix gapped boards, which is through the kitchen where it gapped in the length seam. And once it does that, that's completely failed. And what had happened was because of the rolling load, you have the groove of the floor and the tongue locks into it. Because the rolling load causes the flex, the bottom of the groove had broken, so the tongue won't lock in any longer. And that's how it failed on the length seam. Which is basically complete failure.
Okay.
Sir,
Was there any other, I'll get back to you, don't worry.
okay, sorry.
Was there any other cause that you saw to the issues that the duplexes were having with the floor?
The framer was complaining. I guess it's not abnormal, but it's not standard. Usually the joists are spaced 16 inches apart. And in this house, according to the plans, they were spaced, it's like 19 and like 7/16. I forget what the spacing was.
So 3.5 inches.
Yeah,
wider
it's still divisible by 8. So the boards still end where they should, but to save money, you space those joists out a little bit. Is my understanding. I don't, this is what I've been told by other contractors. That's why you space them out.
But as far as the floor having issues, is there anything other than the weight of the chair that was in your mind contributing to the floor having issues?
No.
So in your mind, it was clear that it was the weight of the chair?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Plessis.
Yes, sir. I just would like to add that my son hangs out mainly in his room, and in his room is not the area that all these problems are happening.
Okay.
It's
Does
in
he
the
ever go
kitchen.
in? Does he ever go into the kitchen?
Well, yes, he goes in and out of there, but it's one spot in particular that this is happening in. It's not even an area that he stays in.
All right. Okay.
I had one thing.
Yeah, and I'll come back to you. All right. Eric, go ahead.
Just because the floor hasn't moved and separated in places doesn't mean that locking mechanism hasn't failed, and it's still together, just hasn't moved apart yet because of the weight of the whole floor.
Right.
So there could be damages in other spots that haven't moved apart yet as well.
In installing the floor, is there anything defective about the product in your mind?
No.
Okay. And have you installed the glue floor as opposed to?
Yes.
And would that have made a difference in this case?
Yes.
And is that typically a more expensive version of the floor?
I don't know the price, but the cost of installation is doubled.
Okay. Thank you. And Deanna, one more time. Seat, I'll remind you, you're still under oath. Did you have any reason when the duplexes came to you to select the floor to suggest to them that they should consider the glue version of the floor?
If I would have known about a wheelchair, absolutely, I would have done that. I did not know.
Thank you. Mr. Plessis, you get the last word.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I said you get the last word. Anything else? You've heard everybody's testimony. Anything else you want to say?
Like I said, honestly, I'm just flabbergasted by the.
We sent you, Your Honor, we sent you proof that Deanna knew our son was in a wheelchair. We sent you proof that we took a picture the day we were supposed to meet the installers out here. She flat out knew he was in a wheelchair. Our builder knew he was in a wheelchair. They knew that. They came out here to take measurements for his bench and his niche for his ADA bathroom, his shower. They knew he was in a wheelchair. They're lying through their damn teeth. Point blank line, all of them.
Okay, so I didn't see anything in the exhibit you submitted that indicate they were aware of the size of your son. So was what indicates
They knew
that?
he was in a wheelchair. They did not suggest putting a glue down floor in. If that's the standard for being in a wheelchair, the weight has nothing to do with this. Nothing. He's in a wheelchair. They knew he was in a wheelchair from day one. They should have offered a glue down floor, and they did not. None of them did.
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's deal with that issue. Eric, come on back up one more time, please. I've heard some testimony about this floor is okay for folks in wheelchairs, but it's the size of the person in the wheelchair in this case, which is the difference. You've installed lots of floors. You tell me your version of that.
I would not suggest this floor with somebody in a wheelchair.
Okay, straight up, you wouldn't.
No, something needs to be fastened to the ground.
Okay.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
In just a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, now, they did submit a photo of their son in the house where there's no flooring there, just a subfloor. Has BNR looked at that, or have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, you've
I've
looked
seen
at
the
that.
picture, yes.
Okay. And well, do you have the picture? Can you call it up?
I did not print the picture. I apologize.
Okay.
Looks like the home was under construction
Right.
when the picture was
Eric,
taken.
step on up your way from it. So this is the photo here.
Yes.
Were you present at this time? Did you ever see, I think you told me you never saw the son prior to.
No, So usually the first thing we do when I show up on a job is we start cleaning the floor to get all the mess here.
Right.
I wouldn't even want to stock the job with that, because if I was to set a pile of boxes on that debris, I would damage the floor. So the first thing I would do is come in, sand, and start sweeping and clean the house, so it doesn't look like I've been there.
Okay, so at this point, you haven't been there. You never saw their son in the home prior to the installation of the floor.
No, the homeowner, I had an issue with the homeowner, and they weren't allowed in the house after the first week we were there.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So who was present when you took the photo of your son on the subfloor in the house?
The two installers, myself.
Okay, well, Eric just said he wasn't present.
Yes, sir, he was there. If you go back, I don't know if you can pull up the information on the date and time that picture was taken, which was April 19th at 10:31 in the morning. The previous evidence I sent with the text message was dated April 18th, where we discussed with Andy Green that we would be out there on the next day, the 19th, for them to get measurements of him in his chair. They may have not been present in the house at that split second when I took that picture, but they were there. They showed up, they took the measurements in his bathroom, in his shower, to make sure the bench and that was at the right height for him to get in and out of his wheelchair. That picture was taken the day we decided to make that meeting per DM to have our installers there.
That was us waiting.
Okay, so what I see in the text is that there was a meeting set up to discuss the bathroom niche and bench, but it doesn't say anything more than that. It just says there was going to be a meeting on the 18th of April. And then it goes into paint selections.
Correct, Your Honor. Like I said, the text clearly between my wife and Andy Green clearly states that Deanna set this time up to meet her installers. So bottom line is, she knew our son was in a wheelchair. She knew flat out he was in a wheelchair because she set up the timeline. The discussion ending, and Mr. Drew is there with a smug and smile on his face, laughing about this. He knew it too. They both
Okay.
knew my son
Hey,
was in a wheelchair.
Mr. Duplessis, let's take the personal out of this. I'm asked to decide the legal issue. And it
Yes,
doesn't
sir.
help have the personal disputes. I'm not resolving those. Okay, so what I see is a text or an email. I'm not sure what the version is here because I can't tell
Text.
from what.
I think so.
So it's a text record just saying that your son would be there on some date. I don't see any other confirmation about anybody meeting your son. It just says, yeah, he'll be there. Or we hope that the flooring guy will meet with them,
Say so to them.
get the height measurements. And then you have the picture, but nobody else in the photo. And Eric has said that didn't happen while he was there. And Mr. Gruen said that when first time he saw your son was 2 weeks after you moved in. So I have the email or the text saying that your son will be there, but I don't have more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Duplessis?
No.
No.
And did you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to state that at the time of the text, as well as the picture, that was well after the flooring selection had already been made. As well as it's not really the weight in the rolling load, just the fact that there is a rolling load on the floating floor.
Okay, well, but that means that any size person in a wheelchair is going to be
Correct.
a rolling load. And are you saying the BNR had no knowledge that somebody in a wheelchair was
Correct.
going to be in the home?
Correct.
And if there had been
Wow.
been told that there was somebody in a wheelchair, you would have suggested the glue down?
Correct.
Okay.
Whatever the case right there. They lie.
It's frozen.
Just wait till I ask a question, please. And what was the installation date on the floor?
The floor was installed starting on,
That's when we finished.
oh,
Well, when did,
Yeah.
when did, well,
about April of 2022.
do you have dates in
April 18th.
April 18th, 2022 was when we began the installation, and all work was completed by the end of June.
So by the end of June, nobody from BNR had either was aware that they had a son in a wheelchair. Mr. Gruen has testified that he was aware that there was a special needs child, but not that the child was in a wheelchair. Is that
Correct.
BNR's position?
Correct.
And Eric, as the installer, prior to completing your job, at any point did you become aware that the special needs child was a child in a wheelchair?
No. The homeowners were not allowed on the job after the first week I was there.
Okay.
So what?
And during the first week that you were there, was he out there
No.
and so did you have any idea that you were constructing a floor for somebody, for a resident of the home being in a wheelchair?
No, I did not.
Thank you. And Mr. Gruen, if you'll replace Eric, let me ask another question as we're sort of getting this. Were you aware, you said you were aware of special needs, you were shocked when you saw their son. Is it shocked that he was in a wheelchair or shocked that he was of the size or both?
The wheelchair.
Okay, and you had no idea you were building a home for a family that was going to have a wheelchair?
I did not.
And you weren't aware of it until you walked in the house after they had moved it?
Yeah, and like I said, I was shocked. I mean, just.
That's gonna burn you.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Plessis?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, actually, I do. Actually, you should have brought up the whole text message again. That's proof that he was in a wheelchair.
Text message is submitted, and there's nothing in there about your son being in a wheelchair. It just says that you are hoping to introduce your son to them, and it doesn't say anything beyond that I have. All right.
Niche and bench right for our son's height measurements.
Right.
Why would we even bring that conversation up if it would not have something to do with
Mr.
him being in
Duplessis.
his wheelchair?
Okay, thank you. There could be a lot of reasons why you would bring it up. That doesn't tell me that the person's in a wheelchair. So.
Okay, believe the liars. Believe the liars.
That could be one possibility, but we have to have a little bit more certainty that these folks knew. And so I have the testimony of the builder, the installer, and the
and like he stated earlier,
okay,
they've been in business
we're not
for 25
arguing,
years. Do you think he would not lie for them? Do you think they would not lie for them? Really?
I'm going to ask.
They've been
I'm going to
working
ask you
together
to
for
be
25
muted.
years.
You're not doing your case any favors. All right, I've reviewed all the exhibits that have been submitted, both before the trial and during the trial. I've heard the testimony of all the parties in this case. And what we have here is damage to a floor that the Duplessis have filed a claim on about 2 to 3 years after apparently moving in. And I've had testimony from the installer who said the damage appears to be related to the presence of a wheelchair in the home. And the builder, the installer, and the seller of the floor all indicate they had no knowledge of a wheelchair being in the home prior to the floor being installed in the home. The Duplessis disagree with that. They said they told these folks, but I have the statements of 3 different people who all have very similar versions of it, which is they had no idea. And Mr. Gruen indicates first he knew of it when he came to the house a couple weeks after the Duplessis had moved in. So the response to having somebody in a wheelchair residing in a home, I've been told, would be to recommend a glue down version of the floor, which from an installation standpoint, apparently would be about twice as expensive as the normal provision of the floor or installation of the floor. But nonetheless, there was nobody who was tipped off that this should be a glue down version as opposed to a straight installation of the floating floor prior to the installation. Because that, the Duplessis have not proved to me that there was a violation of the obligation of B&R Flooring or any of the other potential parties, none of whom were named. The only action in this case was against B&R Flooring. And there's no indication to me that they were aware that there was a wheelchair that would be permanently resident in the home. Because of that, I will dismiss the claim. Thank you.
Fucking bullshit.
Your Honor.
Fucking worthless fucks.